do not wake to trumpets or glorious speeches. In 700 AD, surviving a siege begins with panic already in motion. Somebody shouting on the wall, a church bell hammering one frantic note again and again. Animals squealing beneath your floorboards as if they sense the change before you do. The first thing in your mouth is smoke. Not the warm smell of breakfast, but the thin, bitter taste of damp wood, rushlights, stale ash, and fear. Somewhere beyond the ditch, men you cannot see are closing in, and before the sun clears the palisade, everyone inside understands the truth. The wall may stop them for a time. Hunger will not. If the gates stay shut long enough, the real conqueror will come from inside your own body. A siege in the early medieval world is not a clean stone legend. Around 700 AD, many strongholds are clumsy things, half timber, half earth, patched with old Roman stone if you are lucky, and raw logs if you are not. The wall is not a proud ring of flawless battlements. It creaks, it leaks, it has weak places everybody pretends not to notice. Some men on the defenses have helmets and mail. Most do not. A spear, a knife, a thick stick, a hunting bow, a farm axe dragged into military service. That is what survival looks like here. This is not a story about a noble castle making a heroic stand. It is a story about ordinary people trapped inside a desperate promise made of wood, mud, and prayer. If you want the side of history most stories clean up, subscribe. At first, the sound is worse than the sight. Hooves dragging through wet ground, iron striking iron somewhere beyond the gate, men calling orders in voices too calm for the hour. Then comes the human murmur, that low, restless noise of too many frightened people packed too close together. Families from the nearby fields have already crowded inside, dragging sacks, infants, cooking pots, winter cloaks, and whatever grain they managed to save before the riders came. A place built for a small garrison and a few households now holds twice that number, maybe more. Every corner becomes contested. Every dry board becomes a bed. Every extra body means one more pair of frightened eyes and one more mouth that has to survive the waiting. The first day still carries a little energy, almost a little hope. People run. People count supplies. The reeve or the local lord's man swears the stores will be rationed fairly. A priest tells everyone the enemy cannot remain forever. Men who have never stood a real watch before grip spears and speak too loudly about what they will do if the walls are tested. But by dusk, the performance is already failing. The baker is arguing over grain measures. The women at the well are staring into the bucket as if water itself might answer what happens next. Children are warned away from the gate, the wall walk, the animals, the ditch, the barrels, the strangers, the fire, the dark. There is almost nowhere left they are allowed to be. Food changes first. Before the siege, even poor people could at least pretend tomorrow might resemble today. During a siege, every meal becomes a calculation. Bread is cut smaller. Porridge grows thinner. Salt matters like silver. The best bits vanish into guarded rooms for soldiers, not because they are loved, but because hungry fighters do not hold walls for long. If you are ordinary, your bowl fills with coarse grain, stale peas, roots that should have lasted until winter, scraps of cheese sweating in the heat, and broth so weak you can see the bottom through it. The smell of cooking becomes its own torture, because everybody notices who gets more. Water is worse because it should be simple and never is. The well is suddenly the center of the world. Buckets rise slower. Faces watch every drop. If the settlement has only one clean source, then one broken rope, one body in the wrong place, one act of sabotage, one careless child, and the whole community feels the panic in its throat. Washing becomes a memory. Clothes stiffen with old sweat. Hands stay dirty. Bowls are wiped, not cleaned. Chamber pots are emptied badly because nobody wants to waste strength or expose themselves too long outside sheltered corners. The inside of the fortress begins to smell like wet wool, dung, sour ale, human waste, smoke, and old fear pressed into timber. The nights are never quiet. You might think darkness would bring rest, but darkness is when imagination grows teeth. Every creak of the palisade sounds like a ladder. Every dog bark becomes a warning. Men take turns on the wall, stamping their feet against the cold and trying not to look too tired in front of one another. Sleep comes in torn scraps. Somebody always coughs. Somebody always cries. Somebody always whispers that maybe the attackers are digging. Maybe they are waiting for dawn. Maybe they are already bribing someone inside. In cramped buildings, people sleep shoulder to shoulder, and even then the body never truly relaxes because the air itself feels temporary. Then the waiting becomes physical. It settles into the muscles. Standing watch hurts. Carrying water hurts. Hauling stones to reinforce a weak section hurts. Climbing the earthwork with a load of sharpened stakes hurts. Even doing nothing hurts because you are doing it with tension locked through your shoulders and jaw. The men with authority talk about defense as if it were courage, but most defense is labor. Repairing gates, patching fire damage, moving stores, digging extra pits, clearing lines of sight, gathering arrows after an exchange, checking embers before bed, dragging the dead pig farther from the water. The siege strips away the romance and leaves only work. What you fear most is not always an assault. Often it is fire. In a world of timber roofs, wooden galleries, thatch, tar, straw, and smoke-blackened beams, a single flame can become a second army. Everybody watches the sky for burning arrows or pots of flaming pitch. Buckets are lined up. Wet hides are prepared if anyone has them. Children are ordered to stay near adults who can move them fast. When a roof catches, there is no graceful response. There is screaming, running, men tearing at boards barehanded, women forming panicked lines to throw water, sparks landing in hair and cloth, and the awful knowledge that if one building truly goes, the whole place may follow before the enemy even reaches the gate. Disease does not need permission from either side. It arrives because people are crowded, tired, dirty, underfed, and drinking worse water than they would admit in calmer times. A fever in open countryside is frightening. Inside a besieged enclosure, it feels like an omen. One sick child is watched. Two sick children change the mood of the whole courtyard. A bad stomach empties a body fast when food is already scarce. An infected cut from a splinter or a tool becomes something people quietly inspect with the same dread they reserve for enemy scouts. There are herbs, prayers, old women with remedies, and maybe one local holy man who says patience will save you. Sometimes patience is just a slower word for losing. By the end of the first week, class difference has not vanished. It has become sharper. The hall of the local elite still has thicker walls, better blankets, better meat, and better information. The men deciding rations do not stand in the ration line. The family that once owned the surrounding fields may now hide inside the same enclosure as laborers, but they do not sleep on the same floor. A guard can turn away a peasant from a full barrel faster than he turns away a noble cousin. A child born to rank still cries into cleaner cloth. Siege does not make people equal. It merely traps them close enough for everyone to see the imbalance without being able to escape it. Outside the walls, the enemy is not always charging dramatically. Often they are simply there, which is somehow worse. You glimpse them between stakes and brush, moving around campfires, leading horses, laughing when they think you cannot hear. Their existence tells you the fields are gone for now. The grain beyond the wall belongs to them. The orchard belongs to them. The road belongs to them. Maybe your house outside the enclosure is already open to the sky, your tools taken, your hens slaughtered, your last good cloak wrapped around some stranger's shoulders. A siege is not just pressure on a wall. It is the slow theft of the life you were supposed to return to. Children adapt in disturbing ways. After enough days, they learn which crying is ignored and which cry means real danger. They stop asking for full meals and start asking when the gate will open. They turn broken pottery into toys, then abandon it when another alarm sounds. They play at guards on the wall with sticks, copying the adults who are slowly turning gaunt in front of them. The old watch them with a look that is part tenderness, part shame. The siege teaches everyone too quickly. It teaches that bread can be measured like punishment, that adults can lie with calm faces, and that the safest place in the world can still tremble under a fist. If the attackers test the defenses, the moment is usually chaos, not heroism. There is shouting from one side of the wall, then all sides at once because fear spreads faster than information. A ladder appears, and suddenly 10 men rush to a place that only has room for 3. Stones are dropped. Spears jab downward. Arrows are loosed badly by hands shaking from exhaustion. Someone falls, maybe from the wall, maybe back into the yard, and for one ugly heartbeat the crowd below cannot tell whether they should help, pray, or move out of the way. The clash ends as abruptly as it begins. Then you are left with torn hands, splintered wood, maybe a smear of blood on the gate beam, and the realization that the enemy was only testing how tired you were. After that, suspicion grows inside the walls as surely as hunger. Who spoke too softly with the merchant before the gates closed? Who still seems too well fed? Who disappears for too long near the stores? Who complains loudest about the Lord? Who might open a postern gate in exchange for safety? Sieges turn rumor into a daily ration. Someone says the enemy offered mercy if the settlement surrenders now. Someone else says mercy only means chains and stripped houses. Nobody truly knows, and knowledge itself becomes a kind of wealth reserved for the few. The rest live on scraps of talk, each one seasoned with fear. The animals suffer with you, and because they suffer, you suffer twice. Goats eat what little can still be spared. Pigs become future meals you're trying not to think about too early. Chickens scratch at filth and noise and somehow keep laying for a while, which feels like a miracle nobody deserves. Horses are guarded like treasure, because if the gates open suddenly, mounted men may be the only chance to break out or carry a message. But animals also stink, kick, panic, and attract flies. In a tight enclosure, they are wealth, food, transport, nuisance, and warning system all at once. When one dies, the silence around it says more than the priest. Time breaks apart in strange ways. Dawn matters, dusk matters, the next ration matters. Beyond that, the calendar becomes almost insulting. Saints' days, market days, feast days, old promises of harvest, all of it blurs into the same sequence of hunger, smoke, repair, and waiting. You begin to measure life in buckets carried, watch shifts endured, loaves reduced, and rumors disproved. Even prayer changes. At first, prayers ask for victory. Later, they ask for relief. Later still, they ask only that the children survive, that the well stays clean, that the enemy chooses another target, that tomorrow does not bring fire. A siege makes ambition smaller and need more honest. When supplies truly tighten, the mood darkens in a way that no speech can repair. People begin saving crumbs. Broth becomes hot water with memory in it. Grain once meant for seed is debated, then ground, then eaten with the guilty knowledge that even survival now may borrow against the next year. The old offer to eat less and pretend it is dignity. Mothers lie to children and say they already had their portion. Men who boasted about dying with weapons now stare at empty bowls longer than they stare at the wall. Hunger is humiliating because it drags the mind downward until almost every conversation circles back to food, fairness, and who is hiding what. And still the body must work. The ditch must be checked. Waste must be moved farther away. Broken fencing inside the enclosure must be repurposed for repairs. Water must be lifted. Stones must be stacked where a breach seems possible. A messenger, if one slips out at night, needs dark clothes, local knowledge, and luck so rare it feels holy. The defenders cannot simply collapse because weakness advertises itself. The attackers are watching for slow responses, empty wall walks, thinner voices, fewer sentries, less smoke from cooking fires. In a siege, exhaustion is not private. It is visible, and the enemy reads it like scripture. Sometimes the cruelest moment is not an assault, but a negotiation. Voices call from outside offering terms. Maybe surrender and spare the church. Maybe open the gate and keep your lives. Maybe hand over stores, hostages, weapons, or one troublesome local leader. The words drift over the ditch carrying something almost worse than threat. Possibility. Now every person inside must imagine what defeat might look like. Looting, oaths, humiliation, families separated, homes stripped, men taken away, women bargaining to keep what little remains. The defenders on the wall try to look hard while the people below silently calculate whether pride, is worth starvation. That is what a siege does. It forces survival and honor into the same room and lets them hate each other. Would you choose surrender or one more week of hunger? Tell me in the comments. Even weather becomes an enemy with preferences. Rain turns the yard to slime and makes every step heavier. Wind drives smoke into sleeping spaces and pushes fire where you do not want it. Cold steals strength from watchmen and makes wet clothes feel permanent. Heat rots stores faster, thickens the smell of refuse, and draws insects into every crease of cloth. The fantasy version of history gives people iron wills and simple motives. The real version gives them blistered heels, chapped hands, rashes, smoke-red eyes, and tempers made thin by weather they cannot control. You do not survive because you are fearless. You survive because the next unpleasant task still gets done. By the second week, faces begin to sharpen, cheeks sink, voices shorten, jokes vanish. Even the loud men become economical with words because speech itself feels expensive. The priest sounds tired. The reeve sounds brittle. A woman who used to scold children all day now sits too still beside a wall, staring at nothing. A smith whose arms once seemed unbreakable pauses halfway through lifting a beam. A boy carrying water looks older than he did 10 days ago. Siege is slow violence without spectacle. It does not always announce itself with flames or charges. Sometimes it simply removes weight from bodies and light from eyes until a whole community looks dimmer. If relief never comes, every decision gets uglier. Do you slaughter more animals now, or save them and let the people weaken first? Do you attempt a breakout and risk losing your best fighters in one desperate rush? Do you let more peasants into the stronghold if they reach the gate late, knowing each extra life strains the stores? Do you punish theft harshly to preserve order, or quietly forgive it because everyone understands why it happened? In calmer times, law looks solid. Under siege, law looks like tired men trying to keep collapse from becoming visible. Mercy, discipline, faith, and practicality stop agreeing with one another. And yet people keep making tiny acts of order because total disorder is more frightening than hunger. Someone still mends a torn sleeve. Someone still braids a child's hair. Someone still straightens the altar cloth. A woman still saves onion skins for broth that barely deserves the name. A guard still rubs fat into a leather strap so it does not crack. These gestures matter because they say the settlement is not only a trap, it is still a human place, however degraded. Civilization in a siege does not look like marble halls and royal banners. It looks like exhausted people preserving rituals, so the walls do not become the only thing holding them together. When the end comes, it may not be glorious enough to satisfy the songs. Maybe relief riders finally appear on a distant ridge, and the attackers leave before dawn, carrying what they can steal and burning what they cannot. Maybe a negotiated surrender opens the gate without a final clash. Maybe one section of defense fails, and the settlement is swallowed in noise, smoke, and running feet. Whatever the outcome, nobody inside emerges unchanged. Even the survivors walk out into a world that feels reduced. Fields trampled, fences broken, roofs blackened, stores emptied, graves fresh. The enemy leaves behind more than damage. They leave a new understanding of how thin ordinary life always was. That is the brutal reality. Surviving a medieval siege in 700 AD is not about one perfect battle at the wall. It is about enduring the collapse of comfort, privacy, cleanliness, appetite, sleep, trust, and certainty, while pretending long enough that the community still has a shape. It is about discovering that most people are not defeated by swords first, but by waiting, rationing, smoke, mud, sickness, cold, and the knowledge that someone outside has all the time in the world. The rich still eat better, the poor still suffer more, the priest still prays, the Lord still bargains, and the ordinary person still pays for every decision with their body. So when people imagine the medieval siege as banners snapping over noble stone and heroic last stands under a clear sky, remember the truth underneath. Remember the latrine stink drifting toward the well. Remember the child asleep against a grain barrel because there is nowhere else to go. Remember the guard swallowing fear with stale porridge before another freezing watch. Remember the woman listening to terms of surrender while counting her children without moving her lips. History was not lived as a pageant. It was endured as pressure. And behind every wall that held for one more dawn, thousands of ordinary, dirty, exhausted choices kept the gate closed. And if you want to step into another brutal corner of history most people never see, subscribe and stay close.